This was the third time I'd seen her in the alley, soaked to the bone like a stray cat. Here, I shoved my only umbrella, a beat-up thing, at her. Her eyes were unnervingly bright. "You're always alone." Later, she squeezed onto my couch, completely unapologetic. "It's cold. Share some body heat." I started getting used to making an extra plate. Then I found her secretly licking the rim of the water glass I'd just used. It was raining again. The rain in this city never quit. I clutched the strap of my frayed canvas messenger bag and ran for home. I almost slammed into someone as I rounded a streetlight. A small, thin shadow huddled against the brick wall. Her pale blue shirt was plastered to her skin. Water dripped from the ends of her hair. I froze for a second, then kept running. After 20 yards, I skidded to a stop. I cursed myself for being an idiot. I walked back and practically threw the umbrella into her arms. "Take it." She looked up. Her eyes were exceptionally bright in the rainy night, like polished river stones. "You're always alone." Her voice was so quiet the rain almost drowned it out. I turned and walked away. I could feel her gaze on my back. Sticky. It took 3 tries to get the key in the lock. The hallway light in this old walk-up had been busted for 6 months. I kicked off my sneakers in the dark. The walls were so thin I could hear the couple upstairs fighting. "If you can't live with it, then leave." The woman shrieked, followed by the crash of something breaking. I collapsed on the peeling vinyl couch and stared into space. All I could see were those impossibly bright eyes. And I wondered how she knew I was always alone. The mountain of takeout containers in the kitchen could wait. Whatever. I'll deal with it tomorrow. The next morning, a knock on the door woke me up. 6:20. Who the hell comes calling at this hour? I shuffled over and cracked the door open. She was standing there, holding my umbrella, folded neatly. She'd changed into a cream-colored shirt, still thin enough to see the wind through. "For you." As she handed the umbrella over, I caught the clean scent of cheap bar soap. I took it and started to close the door. She stuck her hand out, stopping it. "My name is Willow. You know, like the tree." I didn't say anything. She didn't seem to mind. She just kept talking. "Thanks for yesterday. The umbrella was really warm." How can an umbrella be warm? This girl didn't make any sense. "Something else." She blinked. "Are you hungry? I smell something burning." Shit. I'd forgotten about the oatmeal on the stove. The kitchen was filled with smoke. She was faster than me. She bolted in, killed the heat, and threw open a window. A layer of blackened oats was cemented to the bottom of the pot. "Don't eat this," she said it matter-of-factly, already running the pot under the faucet in the sink. I leaned against the doorframe, watching her. Her sleeves were rolled up to her elbows. Her wrists were so thin it looked like you could snap them with one hand. "You a plumber?" She pointed to the tool bag hanging on my wall. "Handyman, could you take a look at my place? My sink has been leaking for 3 days." I should have said no. God knows why I nodded. She lived in the old apartment building across the street. It was even more run-down than mine. The hallways were cluttered with junk. Water was seeping out from under her door. Inside, there was just a mattress on the floor and a single chair. A suitcase lay open, overflowing with books. "Graduating soon," she explained, kicking a copy of A Brief History of Time out of the way. I knelt to check the pipe fitting under the sink. She crouched next to me, handing me a wrench. Her breath ghosted past my ear. It kind of tickled. "Done." I saw black spots when I stood up. She grabbed my arm to steady me. Her hand was cold. "You look pale. Didn't have breakfast." She dug a plastic-wrapped loaf of bread out of her bag and shoved it at me. "Have some." The packaging had foreign writing on it. Didn't look like it came from a supermarket. I tore off a piece. It was surprisingly soft. "You're the 7th person I've spoken to," she said suddenly. "This week." I swallowed the bread. "Counting friends. Counting humans." Her eyes curved into crescents. The first 6 were a convenience store clerk, a food delivery guy, and a librarian. "You're the first one who made the first move." She meant giving her the umbrella. "Doesn't count. Umbrellas cost money." She laughed out loud. Her teeth were small and white, like a fairy in a storybook, if fairies were real. After that, she started appearing everywhere. 3 days after I fixed her sink. At the diner I always went to. "Fancy seeing you here." She sat across from me with a massive bowl of chili. It was loaded with hot sauce. "You like this place too?" I kept my head down, sipping my coffee. "Yeah." She slurped her chili loudly. No self-consciousness at all. "Finished my thesis defense. Haven't found a place yet. Can I crash on your couch for a few days? The coffee went down the wrong pipe. I coughed until my face was red. She just watched me, her expression serious. She wasn't kidding. Just the couch. I'm a quiet sleeper. And she lowered her voice. The people in the next apartment are always fighting. It scares me. That last part sounded like an excuse. But against my better judgment, I nodded. She cheered and ran outside. 10 minutes later, she was at my door, dragging her suitcase. Like she'd had it packed the whole time. The couch was a little too short for her. She had to curl her legs up. I tossed a thin blanket at her. If you get cold, find something warmer. She wrapped herself in it, until only her eyes were showing. Cole, you're a lot softer than you look. My hand paused on the light switch. Go to sleep. In the dark, I could hear her breathing. It wasn't like the sound of things breaking upstairs. It was light and steady, like a hamster I had as a kid. Actually, she said suddenly, my ex got married last week. We were together for 4 years. He sent the invitation to my email. The bride looked beautiful in her dress. I didn't answer. She kept talking, more to herself than to me. I'm not sad. It just feels like it's time to turn the page. Turn the page. I stared at the cracks in the ceiling. What a simple way to put it. The apartment changed a lot after she moved in. The takeout containers vanished. The fridge was stocked with milk and fruit. The smell of frying eggs became my new alarm clock. I came down with a fever once. Through the haze, I felt something cool on my forehead. I opened my eyes to see her dabbing my head with a wet washcloth. Her eyes were red. You scared the hell out of me. My throat was too raw to speak. She helped me sit up and drink some water. Her fingers brushed my mouth. 103. If this doesn't break, we're going to the ER. I hated the smell of hospitals. I shook my head and burrowed deeper into the blankets. She just hugged me, blankets and all. Then you have to take your medicine. Her voice was soft, like she was talking to a kid. The day my fever broke, she made a pot of soup. The vegetables were boiled to mush. First time making it. She scratched her head, embarrassed. I ate 3 bowls. Her eyes lit up again. Cole, you're actually a really gentle person. I put the spoon down. You're seeing things. No, I'm not. She leaned in, studying my face. You're so patient when you're fixing things. You feed the stray cat downstairs. You always act grumpy. But you bought me strawberries yesterday. That's because. Because why? I couldn't remember. On the weekend, she insisted on a deep clean. From under the couch, she pulled out a photograph. The edges were yellowed. It was me, 16 or 17, standing on a stage. I was holding a trophy from the state physics Olympiad. Whoa. She sat cross-legged on the floor, staring at it. You used to smile. I reached for it. She dodged, hiding the photo behind her back. Let me wipe it off. It's covered in dust. The teenager in the photo was smiling, a real smile. There was a light in his eyes. He looked like a different person. What happened? She asked softly. Nothing happened. I snatched the photo and shoved it in a drawer. I'd sold the trophy for scrap metal years ago. $5.40. Enough for a cheap pack of cigarettes. She went back to wiping the windowsill. Her shoulders slumped. I ran a hand through my hair, frustrated. My dad left. My mom remarried. I dropped out of school to work. That's it. The rag dropped into the bucket of water. She turned and hugged me. A tight, desperate hug. Her face was buried in my chest. Cole, it's going to be okay. She smelled like laundry detergent and sunshine. I raised my hand, hesitating, then I let it rest on her back, patting it gently twice. The day she got a job, she insisted we celebrate. She bought a 6-pack of beer and tacos from a food truck. We sat on the steps of the fire escape to eat. The night wind messed up her hair. Cheers. Our cans clinked together. Foam spilled onto my hand. She drank too fast. A pink flush crept up her cheeks. My editor loved my pitch. Even though I'm just an intern, she said I have a real shot at getting hired full-time. Her voice trailed off. Her head came to rest on my shoulder. Cole, should we give this a try, us? The streetlights stretched our shadows long and thin. I took a swig of beer. It was so cold it made my teeth ache. I don't have anything to give you. I know. She looked up at me, her eyes glistening. But what I want is something you can give. A siren wailed in the distance, growing louder, then fading away. Felt like some kind of sign. I fumbled in my pockets for a cigarette. All I found was an empty pack. She suddenly laughed. Your ears are red. My hand was already flying up to cover one. It was burning hot. Willow. I used her full name. She immediately sat up straight, like a student waiting to be called on by the teacher. Yeah, do whatever you want. She stared at me for a second. Then she launched herself at me. Her lips brushed my chin. The beer can tumbled down the steps. Clang, clang, clang. After we made it official, she became even clingier. In the mornings, she'd steal one of my button-downs. The sleeves would hang a foot past her hands, like something out of an old movie. It smells like you. She'd bury her face in the collar and inhale deeply. Safe. My fingers paused on my own buttons, like cigarettes and motor oil. Like the sun. She corrected me seriously. She insisted on a hug before I left for work. Said it was to charge up. One time I was in a rush and forgot. I got a text from her at noon. Energy level below 50% today. It came with a crying emoji. I laughed out loud, standing on a rust-covered rooftop. My boss poked his head around a vent. Find a winning lottery ticket. Better. The night of her office party, she drank too much. She was crouched on the sidewalk, throwing up. When I got there to pick her up, she was having a conversation with a lamppost. You might be bright, she slurred, but you're no substitute for him. When she saw me, she staggered to her feet. My boyfriend's here. Her tone was as proud as a kid showing off a report card. In the cab, she fell asleep against my shoulder. She drooled on my jacket. Even in her sleep, she was mumbling. Cole's the best. The driver caught my eye in the rearview mirror. Newlyweds. You got that look. I didn't deny it. The city lights washed over her sleeping face. Like a painting in motion, her ex-boyfriend showed up out of the blue. Standing outside is 7-Eleven in a tailored suit. Willow, you blocked my number. Her grip tightened on the ice cream cone I just bought her. There's no reason for us to talk. The man's eyes drifted down to the grease stain on my work pants. This is what you settled for. The ice cream melted, dripping onto the pavement. A bad omen. I turned to leave. She grabbed my arm, holding on for dear life. That's right. He's a handyman, and he's got more warmth in him than you ever will. Her voice was trembling, but her grip was firm. The man scoffed and walked away. She knelt and started wiping up the melted ice cream, using an entire pack of napkins. I'm sorry for dragging you into my mess. I pulled her to her feet. Still want this? It's about to be a puddle. Her eyes instantly lit up. Yes. We sat on a plastic bus stop bench, sharing the cone. She suddenly leaned over and kissed me. Her lips were cold and tasted like vanilla. It's sweet, she said, smiling. I knew she wasn't just talking about the ice cream. The rainy season came on without warning. She broke out in a heat rash all over her back. It itched so bad she couldn't sleep. I went out in the middle of the night to buy some cream. The pharmacist, an older woman, recommended the most expensive one. For your girlfriend, apply it and blow on it gently to dry. Don't let her scratch. When I got back, she was clawing at the corner of the dresser. She snatched her hand back when she saw me. I wasn't scratching, I swear, like a kid caught with her hand in a cookie jar. I opened the tube and gestured for her to lie down. She flinched when a cotton swab touched her skin. Cole, deal with it. I made my movements lighter. After applying the cream, I leaned down and blew gently. She buried her face in the pillow. Her ears were bright red. Cole, her voice was muffled. Can we get an apartment with air conditioning someday? Yeah. And a balcony full of flowers. Okay. And a cat. Whatever you want. She rolled over to face me. Her eyes were sparkling. Then you have to marry me. The tube of cream slipped from my hand and hit the floor. I bent over to pick it up. My heart was hammering against my ribs. She giggled. Did I scare you? Just kidding. I picked up the tube and screwed the cap on tight. I'm not. This time, it was her turn to be speechless. Outside, the rain suddenly started coming down harder. Like applause. After the heat rash incident, the mood in the apartment was a little different. She didn't bring up marriage again. But in the morning, she'd squeezed the toothpaste onto my toothbrush. A hole in my work pants was patched with a little embroidered sun. I woke up with a start late one night. I found her gently tracing the scar on my brow bone. Got it when I was a kid, I said, my eyes still closed. Her fingers paused. I know. You were talking in your sleep the other night. Did I say my dad did it? Yeah. She moved closer, wrapping her arms around my neck. I'll protect you from now on. It was such a childish thing to say, but the warmth radiating from her shoulder felt real as anything. That weekend, she dragged me to IKEA. She darted between the model rooms, testing out every sofa. This one's soft enough. She sank into a beige fabric sofa, swinging her legs. Stains easily. I pointed to the care instructions on the tag. Her face fell. She moved on, leaning over a display dining table to look at a pendant light. Our place needs warm lighting like this. Makes the food look better. A salesperson enthusiastically handed us a catalog. We're having our anniversary sale. She waved him off and pulled me away. We're just looking. Until. She didn't finish the sentence. But I knew. On the hottest day of July, she got heat stroke. She collapsed in a hallway at work. I was fixing a burst water main when I got the call. Covered in mud, I raced to the hospital. She was lying in a bed, hooked up to an 4. Her face was whiter than the sheets. She managed a weak grin when she saw me. My hero arrives. Shut up and rest. I wrung out a washcloth and wiped the sweat from her forehead. She grabbed my wrist. Right before I passed out, I was thinking, if I died right then, my biggest regret would be not. I didn't let her finish. I leaned down and covered her mouth with mine. It was light, barely a touch. The old lady in the next bed smiled and turned to look out the window. Cole, she whispered, you just kissed me. Yeah. In a hospital. Yeah. My mouth tastes like aspirin. Yeah. She laughed so hard the 4-line shook. A nurse came in and glared at us. The patient needs to rest. We both shut up. Under the blanket, our fingers secretly intertwined. After she recovered, she became a health nut. She carried a thermos of herbal tea everywhere. She made me take a multivitamin every day. You have to live to be 100, she'd say, dead serious. With me, one Saturday morning, she tore the apartment apart. She found the cigarettes I'd hidden under the bed. She threw them all in the trash. You're quitting. For yourself. And for me. I wanted to argue. But then I saw the dark circles under her eyes and swallowed my words. That night, she curled up next to me, watching a health documentary on her phone. Look, a diseased lung. She nearly shoved the screen in my face. I get it. I took the phone from her and turned it off. One day at a time. She looked up and nipped my chin. I'll give you 3 years. No, 5. She haggled like we were at a farmer's market. She didn't know. Ever since she moved in, I'd already gone from half a pack a day to 1 cigarette every 3 days. A guy at work offered me one the other day, and I waved it away without thinking. Wife keeps you on a short leash, he joked. It took me a second to realize I should nod. Yeah, good to have someone who cares, he said, blowing a smoke ring. Yeah, it was. Her birthday was in August. I secretly took on a side job, a full plumbing and electrical installation for a new housing development. I worked 10 nights straight. My hands were shaking when I collected the cash. I bought her the necklace she'd been eyeing for months. I didn't tear the price tag off all the way. When she found it, she cried for a solid hour. It's too much. Her tears dripped onto the jewelry box. You've been working late, haven't you? Your dark circles are. I wiped her face with the back of my hand. Put it on. It'll look good. She sniffled, looked in the mirror, then suddenly started trying to pull my shirt off. What are you doing? Seeing if you've lost weight. We wrestled and ended up tumbling onto the couch. She lay on top of me and kept crying. Cole, we have to always be like this. Like what? Taking care of each other. The next day, she returned the necklace and bought a cheap imitation. She tucked the money under my pillow. For our savings. To marry me. Then she ran off, leaving me staring into space. That night, she took selfies wearing the $3 knockoff. She posted one to Instagram with the caption, "The best gift." In the photo, the necklace looked a little fake. Her smile was completely real. 15 things happened in September. She was hired full-time, and I fell. I missed a step on some scaffolding at a job site. Broke my left leg. I was laid up at home in a cast. Every day, she'd come home from work at a near run. Her bangs would be damp with sweat. Was the patient a good boy today? She'd ask as she checked the ice pack on my leg. One night she worked late until 10. When she walked in, I was hopping around on one foot, trying to heat up leftovers. The kitchen looked like a war zone. She stood in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. Don't cry. I frantically tried to hand her a paper towel. I'm not crying. She took the spatula from my hand. It's the onions. She learned how to ride an electric scooter. She'd drive me to my physical therapy appointments, shouting the rules of the road into the wind. Do not run red lights. Do not carry heavy loads. I wrapped my arms around her waist and laughed. Am I a heavy load? Your precious cargo. After she yelled it, we both went silent. The tips of her ears turned beet red. She almost swerved into a hedge. The day my cast came off, she was more nervous than I was. Doctor, can he run? Can he jump? Can he? I pulled her down into a chair. He can get back to living. 16 inches October. Her parents were coming to visit for the long weekend. She started a massive cleaning effort a week in advance. She hid all my holy t-shirts at the bottom of a closet. It's not that I'm embarrassed, she explained. I just don't want to hear them lecture me. The meeting went better than I expected. Her mom pulled me aside. Does Willow still kick the covers off when she sleeps? I nodded. Have to pull them back up 3 times a night. Her dad was quiet for a long time. He offered me a cigarette, then remembered my quitting and pulled it back. Be good to her. That kid, once she makes up her mind, that's it. After they left, she seemed much more relaxed. She pulled me up to the roof to look at the stars. They like you. How can you tell? My mom slipped some cash in your jacket pocket, and my dad took off his watch and gave it to you. There were only a few scattered stars in the night sky. She leaned on my shoulder, humming a song. Terribly off-key. Cole, yeah, don't we seem like? We do. I knew what she was going to say. A married couple. The words felt hot just thinking them. 17, she went on a business trip for a week in November. The first day, the apartment was terrifyingly quiet. The second day, I ate instant ramen until I felt sick. The third day, I fixed the motion sensor light in the hallway. The fourth day, I started knitting her a scarf. When we video chatted, she leaned close to the screen. What's that red lump behind you? A rag, I said, quickly changing the subject. The truth was, I knitted and unraveled it so many times my fingers were covered in pinpricks. The morning she was due back, I waited at the bus station until my legs went numb. When I saw her, I couldn't move. She ran toward me, dragging her suitcase. She wrapped the lopsided scarf around my neck. It's ugly, she declared, but it's warm. Later, I discovered a sweater in her suitcase she'd bought for me. The size was perfect. How'd you get my measurements? While you were sleeping, she said, looking proud. I used a measuring app on my phone. I pictured her sneaking around, and the hardest part of me just crumbled. That night, we curled up on the couch watching an old movie. She suddenly asked, when did you start liking me? That rainy day. Which one? The first one. She rolled over and glared at me. That early. You're a really good actor. 18. The first snow fell in December. She pressed her face against the window pane, captivated. A girl from the South who'd never seen a real winter. While I was making hot tea, she snuck outside. She built 2 snowmen at the foot of the stairs. The tall one wore my gray scarf. The short one had her favorite barrette pinned to its head. Don't they look like us? The tip of her nose was red from a cold. I dragged her back inside to dry her clothes. She suddenly looked sad. The snowmen are going to melt. It'll snow again next year, I said, ruffling her hair. Every year. Her eyes brightened again. Then we have to watch it together every year. On Christmas Eve, she had an office party. A young guy from her work walked her home. He was carrying a gift bag. I stood in the shadows, watched them say a polite goodbye. She was humming as she came up the stairs. She stopped when she saw me. Are you jealous? I stubbed out my cigarette. No. She leaned in and sniffed my collar. You smoked more than 3 drags. You're jealous. The gift bag held an apple from a secret Santa exchange. She took a big bite right in front of me. It's sweet, she said. Just like you. 19, we did a deep clean before the new year. From under the bed, we pulled out the old photograph. She insisted we buy a frame for it. This is evidence, she said. Proof that you were once this brilliant. We found a wooden frame at a thrift store. She carefully wiped off the dust. She placed the photo on top of my toolbox. Look at it every day. Remember how amazing you are. Honestly, I'd stopped caring about that science competition years ago. But I loved the way her face lit up when she talked about it. Like she was lighting me up, too. On New Year's Eve, she made pizza from scratch for the first time. The crust was lopsided and half the cheese slid off. We were kneeling in the kitchen, picking toppings off the floor. We could hear the ball drop on our neighbor's TV. Her hands covered in flour. She threw her arms around me. Happy New Year! From now on, every year. Fireworks exploded outside, drowning out the rest of her sentence. But I read her lips. We have to be together. 20 When the rainy season returned in March, she got an email from her ex. He said his wife had cheated on him. He wanted to get back together. She replied with me looking over her shoulder. I'm into guys who can fix a leaky sink now. After hitting send, she pushed the laptop toward me. I'm not reading it, I said, closing the screen. The sink fixer is taking you out for dinner. We huddled under one umbrella in the rain. She started laughing. You know, you're way more attractive than he is. How so? For one, you never say a bad word about your exes. For another, you spoil me until I'm completely out of control. The umbrella tilted toward her side. My whole shoulder was soaked, but I felt warm and dry inside. 21 inches April, she signed up for driving lessons. She failed the road test 3 times. I found her crying on the curb outside the DMV. I borrowed a friend's beat-up Ford Escort to help her practice. We drove back and forth on an abandoned road outside the city. She was so nervous, she kept mixing up the gas and the brake. Cole, we're going to hit that tree. I pulled the handbrake. I've got you. She finally got her license. She ran around the apartment, waving the little plastic card. I can pick you up from work from now on. I'll be your personal driver. That license is still in the back of a drawer somewhere. Looks brand new. In May, I caught her looking at apartment listings. This one has a huge balcony, and it's closer to your job sites. I took the phone from her. Let's not move. Why not? I'm used to you. She froze. Then she launched herself at me, biting my shoulder playfully. You finally said something romantic. That night, she curled up beside me, making plans. We need a double-door fridge, and we'll plant mint and basil, and blackout curtains for the bedroom. Her voice got quieter and turned into steady breathing. I kissed the top of her head. Whatever you want. For our anniversary in June, I finished assembling the last piece of furniture. A bookshelf. Her books finally had a home outside of cardboard boxes. She wiped each one down, placing it carefully on a shelf. Tucked inside one, she found the ring I'd hidden. A plain silver band. Inside, I'd engraved CM and WR. Our initials. Is this? The hand holding the ring was shaking. I dropped to one knee, knocking over a glass of water in the process. It was a clumsy mess. It might be too small. It might not be flashy enough. She held out her hand. Put it on, and shut up. With the ring on, we sat on the floor, surrounded by books. She kept twisting the band around her finger. When did you figure out my size? When you fall asleep holding my hand. Cole, you're so sneaky. We laughed as the sunset filled the room. She suddenly got serious. I don't want a wedding. No wedding photos. The money we save can go toward opening your own repair shop. She'd remembered that I'd told her on my drunkest night that I wanted my own workshop. On the hottest weekend in July, we went to look at storefronts. She had a little notebook, jotting down pros and cons. Not much foot traffic on this street, but the rent is cheap. The sun had faded the color of her straw hat. When I came back with ice cream, I saw her haggling with the landlord. We're newlyweds, she said, the words flowing naturally. The landlord smiled and knocked 10% off the price. She fell asleep on a bus ride home. Her head bobbed with every bump in the road. I cupped the back of her head with my hand to keep it steady. She unconsciously nuzzled against my palm, like a small animal that completely trusted its owner. We ended up signing the lease on a small shop on the edge of town. When she designed the sign, she insisted on adding a little star, Cole's Repairs, and in smaller letters underneath. Fixing whatever's broken, it was corny as hell. But I let her have it. The day we painted the walls, she got paint all over herself. But she was smiling. This is our first home. Nope. I corrected her. Second. The first one was over there. I pointed in the direction of our old, run-down apartment. Her eyes suddenly welled up. You're right. Our first home started on a couch. A massive storm blew through in August. She got stuck at work. I waded through the storm to get her. The water was waist deep. When she saw me, the tears started streaming down her face. Are you an idiot? Are you trying to get yourself killed? But her hands gripped my arm and didn't let go. On the way back, she recited the emergency prep guide I'd given her. If you encounter floodwaters, walk slowly and find a stick to probe the ground in front of you. Her voice trembled with the aftershock of fear. That night, she ran a fever and talked in her sleep. Cole, don't go. I held her hand and sat there until morning. When her fever broke, she looked at my exhausted face and smiled. We're like characters in a melodrama. You're the hero, and I'm the leading lady. After I said it, We both fell silent. The shop had its soft opening in September. She'd come over right after work to help. She was better at answering the phone than I was. Hello, Cole's Repairs. Yes, our handyman will be right there. One time I came back to grab a tool. I overheard her talking to a customer. My husband is incredibly skilled. The pride in her voice was impossible to hide. At night, we'd count the day's earnings. Crumpled bills spread all over the bed. She suddenly jumped up. We're rich. In reality, it was just enough to cover rent. But in that moment, it felt like we owned the world. By October, she learned to cook all my favorite foods. One time she added way too much salt by mistake. She watched my face nervously as I took a bite. I ate the whole plate without changing my expression. It's fine. She grabbed my fork and tried some, and immediately spit it out. Liar. She went back to the stove to make fried rice. Her back was turned to me, her shoulders stiff with frustration. I came up behind her and wrapped my arms around her. It really was fine, as long as you're the one who made it. The spatula clattered into the sink. In November, the unexpected happened. An ectopic pregnancy. Surgery. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely sign the consent form. The nurse pointed to the line for relationship. You can write husband here. I paused. Then I carefully wrote the word. She was pale after the surgery. The baby. There will be other chances, I said, stroking her damp hair. You're what's important. She cried until my entire shoulder was wet. When we were discharged, the doctor gave his instructions. Take it easy for 6 months. In the cab home, she stared out the window. Suddenly, she said, I was scared. Scared you'd be disappointed. I squeezed her fingers. Willow, I just want you. After that, she got even more serious about her health. She even swapped my beer for herbal tea. Late at night, she would often trace my eyelids. You awake? Yeah. Before we try again. Can we go on a honeymoon first? Okay. Where? You pick. She planned our route in the darkness. Her voice gradually faded. The last thing I heard was a whisper. As long as I'm with you. By December, the shop was breaking even. She bought a small mint plant to celebrate. She said that when it was big and leafy, we would have a baby. I told her she was being superstitious, but I watered it carefully every day. On Christmas Eve, she pointed to the brightest star in the sky. Our baby will come in the spring. It didn't matter when, as long as the baby was hers. For New Year's, her parents came to the city. The 4 of us crowded into the small kitchen, making pasta. Her dad finally put his watch on my wrist. It's a family heirloom. Her mom smiled, her eyes glistening. Our Willow. She found the right one. When the countdown started on TV, she secretly pulled me up to the roof. Fireworks lit up the sky in every direction. She traced a word into the palm of my hand. Forever. I wrote the same word back in hers. Forever. The day the mint plant sprouted its first new leaves in March, she came out of the bathroom holding a pregnancy test. She looked like she was in a dream. This time, I think it's real. The week the doctor confirmed the pregnancy, she had terrible morning sickness. But she insisted on going to the shop to wipe down the counters, so the baby can get familiar with the place. I started making extra trips home during the day. Once, I found her reading the user manual for a circuit breaker to her stomach. You have to start their education early. She explained. The sunlight streamed in, illuminating her slightly rounded belly. It looked like some kind of sacred ritual. At the ultrasound in April, we heard the heartbeat, a thundering little train. She grabbed my hand and started crying. Sounds like you. So strong. The doctor smiled and said everything was healthy. She suddenly asked, Can you tell if it's a boy or a girl? What are you hoping for? We both spoke at the same time. Either is fine. We'd already picked out 2 names. Leo, Aurora. One for the sun, one for the dawn. By May, she could feel the baby kicking. It often woke her up in the middle of the night. I pressed my palm against her belly to feel it. So active. Just like you. She'd mumble sleepily. No, definitely like you. Business at the shop was picking up. I hired a kid to help out. It meant I could take more walks with her. Every time we passed a bridal shop, she'd hurry past. You don't like them. They won't look good on me now. So I had a maternity wedding dress custom made. The day we took the photos, the whole studio went quiet when she walked out of the dressing room. The photographer muttered to himself, That's the most beautiful mother-to-be I've ever seen. When we were choosing the photos, she deleted all her solo shots. I only want the ones of us together. We're always in the same frame. Our favorite one is hanging on the wall of the shop. She points to it and says, when the baby is older, we'll tell them this is how much mom and dad loved each other. Before the storm season started in June, I reinforced all the windows and doors. She laughed at how overprotective I was being. I have someone to protect now, I said, my lips against her belly. The baby kicked wildly in response. She suddenly looked down. I'm just saying, if there's any danger, save the baby. I covered her mouth with my hand. There are no ifs like that. That night, after she fell asleep, I stood by the window and made a vow to the night sky. I would trade anything to keep them safe. On the hottest day of July, in the dead of night, she shook me awake. I think it's time. She hummed a song the whole way to the hospital. Are you scared? I asked, terrified, but I'm more excited. Her mom waited with me outside the delivery room. Willow is strong, she said, just like her taste in men. As the first ray of dawn hit the hallway, we heard a cry. 31. A nurse brought out a swaddle bundle. A girl, 7 pounds, 4 ounces. The mother wanted to be the one to tell you. I rushed into the room. Her face, damp with sweat, had a soft glow. Cole, she has your eyes. A tiny bundle was nestled in her arms. And she did. She had a pair of bright, clear eyes. I kissed her forehead. You did it. She smiled and drifted off to sleep. Her fingers were still clutching a corner of my shirt. The day she was discharged, the sun was shining. She sat in a chair outside the repair shop, holding the baby. Our new sign gleamed in the light. Cole's Repairs. She'd insisted on keeping the tagline underneath. Fixing whatever's broken. A neighbor brought over a stroller as a gift. A customer pointed to the wedding photo on the wall. She's even more beautiful than in the picture. Willow looked down, cooing at her daughter. That's because we're more complete now. I handed her a bottle of warm milk. I watched her take a small sip. And I suddenly thought of that rainy night 3 years ago, when a girl, soaked to the bone, asked me, "You're always alone." Now, I had an answer. I used to be, until I met you.